All right, guys, so I'm gonna dive into why this thing's leaking coolant. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I'm gonna pull the old thermostat housing off. And I've already got the front core support in service mode. So if you don't know, you take the bolts that hold your front bumper on, screw them into one of the bolt holes in the two front places, and then remove the other three, and then remove your mounting bolts, and then the whole thing will pull forward. So I've got it in the service mode. I've got a lot more room to get down into the front of here. And I'm gonna take just this side of the engine apart. I'm not gonna take the timing belt off because I don't want to. So I'm gonna show you how I cheat to get this thing out without removing the timing belt. I know it's not good for the timing belt, but I plan on replacing the timing belt within the first 5,000 miles anyway. Just because I don't like the belt that I put on here. And I'm gonna wait and get an actual factory Audi belt to put on here. All right, guys, so I just got the thermostat housing removed, and I want to do a side-by-side comparison of the thermostat housing that I bought from eBay versus the factory VW Audi thermostat housing. So I'm going to show you what the differences are, and then I'm also going to show you why the thermostat housing that was original is failing. I mean, it's actually pretty obvious. I can't believe I didn't see it before I put it together. So all right, so this is the eBay brand new part. Looks absolutely identical to the original part. So there's the eBay part right there. The only markings that it doesn't have is right here. It'll have a VW Audi logo on the other one. But here's the other one. And all the casting and everything looks the same. All the numbering looks the same. So I believe it's just I don't know, maybe they don't have any kind of like patent hold on it anymore and you can make it exactly the same. But I mean, this thing's like a picture perfect image, and it was cheap. I only paid 10 bucks for this thing. So I mean, and you can see on this one, and I'm gonna try and focus in on it, but see how wavy that is from corrosion? It is eating away. I mean, the video is not showing it justice, but it is eating away really bad right here. And it's also got some bad nicks back here on this back edge. And it's corroded all the way around. So the entire lip is actually sitting lower than what this lip is sitting. And this lip is actually beveled. It's higher on the inside than it is on the outside. And this one is basically rounded all the way across it, and I would imagine that's just from corrosion and thousands of miles of being driven, because this engine has 140,000 miles on it. So that's the reason I didn't get into the bearings and everything, because the bearings should still be good as long as the engine wasn't dogged. But I wanted to re-gasket the whole thing and replace the timing set on it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this back in there. I went ahead and purchased a new thermostat to throw in there just in case. I was reusing the original thermostat, but I had a new gasket for it. But with the way that this housing was, it just wasn't going to seal. So I bought a new thermostat with a new gasket and new housing. And the way that I got the timing belt to scoot over, and I do not recommend this. This is just what I'm doing for quick fix, but you will run the risk of stretching your timing belt. But what I'm doing is I'm pulling away from the engine while I'm rotating the crankshaft when the pulley's getting ready to go up into the camshaft. So as it rotates onto the camshaft, the belt will walk itself off of the pulley. And I've got it about a quarter of the way off of the pulley. I would not go any further than that, because then you can break the belt and you'll have half of the timing belt in there and you'll have to replace it. But I plan on replacing this belt within 5,000 miles anyway, because I didn't realize it at the time of purchase, but this belt that I have on here is exactly the same as the belt that I had on my other one that all the teeth rounded off of it, and I can't have that. So I'm gonna go purchase an original OEM Audi timing belt, just because I have no faith in these aftermarket timing belts. So I thought it was an OEM direct replacement, and when it showed up and it was blue, I knew damn good and well it wasn't, but I wanted to continue with the videos so that I could get this project done. I need to get the car registered so that I can actually drive it and fix any bugs that happen to occur, because I mean, no project, I don't care what TV show you watch, no project ever comes out perfect with no bugs. You're gonna even if it's a very minor bug, it's going to have bugs. So I want to make sure that any glitches or imperfections that I notice go ahead and get them repaired, so that I can focus on the other things that I want to do to the vehicle, because I plan on completely replacing the entire front suspension on it. I plan on doing the entire B7 front end conversion, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying, why didn't you just buy a B7 to do this with? And I like the ass end of the B6. So I like the way the taillights and the trunk and everything look on the B6, but I really like the B7 front end, and I like the LED headlights that you can have with the B7 front end that are factory, because I'm really not big on aftermarket parts for specific vehicles. Other vehicles I care less. I'll throw any freaking cheap Chinese part that I can find on it, but other cars I'm very picky about what I put on them, and this is one of them. So I will do aftermarket smoked out LED taillights, and it's the exact same set that I had on my Nagaro blue A4 that I had, and I'll include a picture in this video so you can see what it was looking like. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing thrown back together. So I like I say, I do not recommend doing this with your timing belt, but it is a quick way if you have no other alternative but to get the thermostat housing replaced and get the thermostat replaced. This will work as a stopgap measure, but do not consider it fixed, because you have ruined the timing belt essentially. All right, just want that fair warning out there. And my battery is completely removed from the vehicle, so I did remove the alternator, and I removed the upper alternator mounting bracket in order to have enough room to get the water outlet to fit through behind the timing belt. So the battery cannot be hooked up, because you must remove the alternator and you must remove the upper alternator mounting bracket. I did not disconnect the alternator. All I did was unbolted it and moved it so that I could remove the upper bracket. All right, guys, important note: when you're putting the thermostat in, make sure that bleeder valve goes to the very top. That's so that you can bleed the air out of the system when you're filling it up. All right, guys, so I got the whole front end back together. I'm filling up the coolant system, and I'm trying to bleed the air out of it. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the way that you bleed the coolant system on this thing is you relieve the heater hose right here, and that little hole right there is the bleeder hole. So you just take the clamp loose, and then you back the hose up until that hole is past the end of the tube, and it'll let air out of that hole. And you'll see little bubbles coming out of the tank. And because I have the car at an angle, it's going to take me a lot longer than if it was on level ground, but you're supposed to do this on level ground. So I'll probably get it full enough to where I can start it up and move it and get it on level ground, and then I will refill it. What's up, YouTube? Just got done fixing the coolant leak on the thermostat housing water outlet. So I replaced the thermostat, replaced the water outlet, filled it up with coolant, finished checking everything. I still do not have the rear clamps on the exhaust, but I'm going to back the car up, move the ramps, and take her for a maiden voyage.
exhaust.
All right, guys, want to be totally transparent on this. When I got all my fluids filled up and everything working, turned the car on, and I've got a check engine light, and I've got, apparently my oil pressure sensor or oil level sensor is not working correctly, and I'm getting a bad manifold absolute pressure sensor, so the sensor that's mounted in the throttle body boot. But I mean, it starts up and runs good, but I get that oil sensor constantly, and it's telling me that my map sensor's messed up. So I got to get those issues fixed, but we'll see what happens. All right, guys, so I figured out what was wrong with the oil level sensor. So it is no longer giving me an alarm, but I still have the check engine light on. You can see I got the check engine light on, and the hood's open, and I'm out of gas. But I got to get the, I got to figure out what's wrong with the manifold absolute pressure sensor and throttle body Y boot. It's got 2 different codes for it, so I'm gonna try and figure out what's going on with it. Now I can tell. So I took a gamble with getting this engine, and I know that the Audi A6 that I bought from Copart was not a run and drive. I took a gamble on it because there was no keys with it. I was unable to see if it started it or anything. But with the fact that it was wrecked, that led me to believe that the car was running. It may not have been running perfect, but it was running enough to be wrecked. I mean, obviously it's not going to get the whole front wheel ripped off sitting in your driveway. I would hope not. But that's why I took a gamble on it. And then when I got the engine and I started tearing it out, I actually saw that the bracket that holds the map sensor into the boot on the front end of the intake is missing. And it looks like the map sensor's been replaced. It looks like the boot's been replaced. So apparently somebody's been struggling with a map sensor problem with this motor before I got it. So I'm going to try and figure out what's going on with it. It may just be the wire going from the map sensor to the ECU has got a short in it or something, and I'll just have to replace it. If that's what it is, so be it. It may be a little ugly when I'll have to freaking pull the whole damn wire and harness out to fix it and make it pretty. But I'll probably just run a wire external to see if that fixes it, and if it does fix it and get rid of the alarm, then I'll run a permanent wire. But I'm going to get into diagnosing what's wrong with the map sensor. Other than that, everything else on the car appears to be working good. I still have not driven it yet because I mean, I've driven it down the street just to make sure that everything was going to move correctly and the transmission was shifting smoothly, the clutch was working correctly. But I'm not going to let it get up to a high temp because I don't have my fans hooked up yet. So I drove it down the driveway and back up the driveway just to verify that it was going to work, stop, all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to work on getting all the bugs worked out of it. After I get all the bugs worked out of it, then I'll go get it registered, and that way I can go drive it on the actual street and see what's going on. But that's one good thing about having a driveway that's a quarter mile long. I can at least test my vehicle on my driveway, and I ain't got to worry about getting any kind of tickets for not driving it on for driving it out on the street. So, but yeah, I'm going to try and figure out what's up with this map sensor. But I am leaving to go to Florida for vacation for a couple days, so I may not get to the end of this map sensor diagnosis because I'm going to be leaving in like 2 hours, I think. So I'll get as much done as I can, but after that, it'll be next weekend before I post my next update. So I'll see y'all. Good morning, YouTube. I am currently down in Daytona, Florida. Beautiful morning, but I wanted to show you what I'm considering to turn into my next project. So let me flip the camera around and show you what I think I've got in store for the next project. Okay guys, so this is my former car. I bought this car, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. And I put a shit ton of miles on it. It's got like almost 300,000 miles on it. But I sold it to my daughter and her husband. And her husband is deployed over to Korea, and my daughter is going to go join him, and they owe me a small amount of money, so they're going to give me the car as payment for the money that they owe me. Plus they're leaving the country. They have nothing, they're not going to have anything to do with the car once they leave. But like I say, it's got a lot of miles on it. But what my thoughts are, and you guys can tell me if you think I'm crazy or not, but what my thoughts are is to buy a wrecked Genesis coupe, Hyundai Genesis coupe. And I can't decide whether I want to do the 2.0 turbo or if I want to do the 3.8 V6, but I'm going to change it to rear wheel drive. And I'm going to basically completely redo the freaking drivetrain on this thing. Change it from front wheel drive to rear wheel drive, and use all the Hyundai Genesis parts. Basically what I'm doing to the Audi, but do it with this Hyundai, and see what I can make this thing do. But the interior is a little dirty because, like I say, it's got over 300,000 miles. But, and the doors are locked, so I can't show you the inside yet. But like I say, this is my old car. My daughter's going to be giving it back to me as payment. So hopefully we'll see some really wicked shit happen with this car. But that's going to be the next project that I do as far as a full car build. I'm still going to be working on the B7 front end conversion and doing the turbo upgrades and all that stuff that I was going to do to the Audi. But this is going to give me a secondary project to work on. And then there's the wife's Wrangler right there. But yeah, we'll see where this new project is going to take us, but I'm really excited to see what I'm going to be able to do with this thing. So as you can tell from me making this part of the video, I was not able to figure out what was wrong with the map sensor. So when I get back home, that's going to be the first thing that I tackle, is trying to repair the map sensor signal that the ECU is saying it's getting a bad signal or an implausible signal. And I tested out some of the wiring on the map sensor, and it does look like the reference signal voltage is incorrect, and so the wire appears to be shorted out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a jumper wire from the ECU straight up to the straight to the map sensor, and then see if that fixes it. And if it doesn't, then I'll start looking at replacing all 3 wires and replacing the map sensor and see where we go from there. But I think that's where I'm gonna end this video at. Let me know what you guys think about the Veloster. It's a 2012 Hyundai Veloster. Like I say, it's a naturally aspirated 1.6 liter. It's fun to drive. I drove it for 3 years, I think. I could be wrong, but I think I drove it for 3 years, and I put a shit ton of miles on it. I put over 200,000 miles on it in the 3 years that I drove it. But I think it'll be a cool little project. It was fun as hell to drive before, but I think it's going to be ridiculously fun to drive when I switch it to rear wheel drive and 300, 400 horsepower out of the motor. So let me know what y'all think in the comments down below, but that's the next direction that I'm looking at going. So hope y'all enjoyed this video. Have a great day.